Welcome to Arsenal Above All. A brilliant Thierry Henry R1 finessed finish, I should say, from Gabriel Martinelli was enough to secure all 3 points as we completed another sweep of the Midland clubs away from home, just as we did last season. To discuss the game, our old and new nemesis, beginning with the letters VAR and the visit of Everton on Wednesday, I'm joined by Bez, Kelmendi, and Stephen Osakwe. How are you doing, gents?
All good. How are you?
Yeah, good, man. I'm just glad that we've got another 3 points. Yep, another 3 points. Back at the top of the table again, obviously. Just the games keep ticking down and 14 to go. We're starting to get to that running stage, isn't it? It's getting interesting. It's been, whatever happens, it's been a fantastic ride. It's been a fantastic season, hasn't it? So, but appreciate you gents joining me on your Sunday nights. I know obviously we've got work and kids and what have you to deal with for the coming week, but appreciate your time as always. So thanks for joining me tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you as always. Yes.
So gents, another 3 points, and as all the stats pointed to, another dominant away performance. Leicester's XG, which I think was 0.1, was I think one of the lowest ever recorded, especially for a home team in the Premier League. That's the same team, by the way, that absolutely cooked, grilled, deep fried the Audi Cup winners a couple of weeks ago. Just bearing that in mind, and should have beaten United last week as well. So just putting that out there. But this win was our 10th away win of the season out of 13 played. We won 9 the whole of last season. And for context, Man City have won 7 games away from home this season, and Man United, who are in the title race, whether you want to believe that or not, they've won 6 games away from home. So, just say, Steve, what do you think? Why do you think our home form has been so good, and what do you think has been key this season against the others? Obviously, we had a fairly reasonable away form last season, but what do you think has been the key reason for our home form this season?
I'm going to give a massive shout out to our fans. They've been immense. I've heard them at every seasons before. I've always heard them. Okay, this season, when things might not have looked as good, they've continued. They've been relentless. They've cheered on individual players. If individual players have made a mistake, for example, they've sang players' names. They've been even more vocal than they have been. And like I said, I always appreciated our away fans before because they were always very vocal before. So now they're even more vocal. They're giving the team an extra lift. We're going to stadiums, and when you hear our fans over the home team fans, it makes you feel like, hold on, are we at home? I mean, and the players respond to that. The players have responded to that in a positive attitude, and they've picked up on certain things, and they've delivered. So fans first,
yeah,
and then it's nothing short of Mikel Arteta and the players and their focus, determination, drive, and energy, and what they want to achieve, that hunger to achieve success, that goes part and parcel with the fans. They want to win. Yeah. I've said it before, I think in previous podcasts with you, Mike, and it's not about getting a result; it's about winning.
Yeah,
and the players themselves know that. That's what it's about. You want to win the games. You need to win the games in order to be successful. And you can't go to somewhere and go, oh yeah, a draw is a good result. You want the win. If you can't win, then a draw is a good result. But you want to win. And that has always been Arteta's mantra. That's always what he wanted from his players. And that's the level that they've had to have met in order to be successful to this point of the season. So we saw it in a documentary where he was saying, guys, you go out there and you win, okay? No matter who we played, whether it was going to Anfield and saying, look, our record isn't great here, but guys, go out there and win. We didn't win. Fair play. It was Liverpool at the time, and they were doing bits against everybody, so there was no shame. But it was, we go out there and win. And once you keep feeding that in, not we get a result, we win. I said, I'm stressing that point because there's a clear difference between a win and a draw.
Yeah,
and getting a result no matter what. Jose used to see a result as getting a draw. Yeah, we got the result, and the media always used to pick up on it. No matter where Jose goes, he gets a result. No, it's about the wins. So Alex, Arsene, Pep, and now Arteta, even Klopp. It's go out there and win, not get a result, not get a draw, not defend the lead. It's win and win convincingly.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I was going to say that it's like the mentality is the mantra, like you said, from Arteta, especially as we saw in the documentary, has actually got through that they're going to go away anywhere and stamp their themselves all over the pitch, make sure that they are on the front foot, and it's obviously it's showing itself. I mean, Bez, in terms of that as well, I mean, I'll ask you that question as well. I mean, what do you think has been the key aspect of our away form this season? As Steve has obviously touched on, I think the away fan, but again, the resilience in certain situations where we've won games differently away from home. Most often than not has been more dominant, especially when you look at the performances against the bigger teams that we've played against them. But what's your view on just the away performances that we've had so far this season?
I totally agree with Michael. I agree with Stephen's point, because simply I feel that the players now get it through the system. They need to win. They need to perform. And that we expect not as much as we did, let's say, to be up there, but I think the players have taken on board what it means to play for Arsenal Football Club. The DNA. It means you attach yourself to the fan base, give it all you got. We rally you. We literally will push you. So give out your heart, for this club, for this passion that you have to play for the shirt. Like I saw even yesterday, in respect Zinchenko, as you know, he's not basically a captain, but to lead the team the way he did, in the manner of what he's been for in his personal life, and to see him at least calm, that sure in defense seems really good. Yeah. And it shows that people actually do notice that now we have players who actually can lead the team and have the right, mindset to play for us in the right time, whatever that might be going through.
Yeah.
Again, resilience is another key word, because I do see to see how much we suffered yesterday, which we'll touch on it more in a bit, but just to see how much we got kicked out the backside by certain officials again.
Yeah. And
to have resilience to win and to keep in a clean sheet even away from home and in a tricky place as we know Leicester City is. Again, this shows that we've come a long way, and to see it how we've developed in such a long time. Sorry, such a small space of time.
Yeah. And
I'm just happy to see them. Look, all these officials can give us this, offside, that, go get penalised as this, that. Fine. Our players just get on with it. You see, yesterday, no one got any needless booking. From what I saw, even, what's his name, our goalkeeper, Ramsdale, looked very, much focused on the game.
Yeah.
For me, I have to say one guy again, as we spoke before with Neil, and obviously with Stephen and you as well, including Michael, Gabriel, my God, that boy.
Yeah.
He looks just calm. So just nothing breaks him anymore. You can see he's literally grown in 2.5 years. He's been at Arsenal. Complete different person. Yeah. Not just a footballer, but I say as a human being. He's just a complete different person when he plays for the shirt. It's like, find him play for Brazil. It's like, you know what? Yeah. I don't mind. I've got another team who loves me more. So I have Arsenal, and now he's reaping the rewards,
Yeah, he's definitely setting the standard there. I mean, there's a lot of fuss made about him and Saliba having a bit of a back and forth at the final whistle, and they were having a discussion. People saying it was altercation. It wasn't. They were having a chat about something. Gabriel was pointing out something about maybe him not closing somebody down, and Gabriel laughed it off. And then afterwards, in the dressing room, they took a photo. They took a selfie. So again, it was all right. People just again trying to put Arsenal under the microscope for nothing really. But in terms of the actual lineups, and Steve, and the actual start of the first half, which was was probably one of the most, one of the most dominant performances or first halves. Leicester looked absolutely, petrified of us in certain instances. But playing Trossard as the false nine, I've always said, I would like to have seen Martinelli as a nine, and Trossard being the guy maybe on the left. And it was funny that's how the goal sort of came about. Trossard went out on the left, and then he slipped it into Martinelli, who went through and scored. But what about Trossard's performance again? Because he's just seamlessly just got into it, and that's a mark of a top player, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think when we signed him, I think we were all in agreement that he as a 2-footed player, he reminded us all of a bit like Santi and having that sort of impact. I listened to your guys, you, James and Neil, in the last podcast, and you talked about maybe playing Martinelli up front and Trossard on the left. And I did comment on the YouTube comments page just to say I think he's still learning Martinelli, and I think Arteta is still doesn't want to put that much pressure on him and saying, look, go and play that role and do your bits. While he's still learning his trade and still learning what it's like to put those balls in those areas where he would need to be. Trossard has played that position, and Trossard has come in and from his goal to his assist yesterday, he hasn't really done much wrong. That's what I would have done. I'm not saying I'm Mikel Arteta. I'm not even close. But yeah, that seemed the more positive decision, because we know from Brighton that Trossard has played there a few times, so does know the role. And to say that we would all like to see Martinelli up there, but it might just take a bit away from his game while he's still learning that part of the game. I mean, when we signed him, he was the sort of player that he is now. He was an attacking player and not necessarily a number 9. And to develop into a number 9, you need to put those balls into that area and then know where those balls are going to be. And then you've got to know about your hold-up play and everything else. And I think at this stage of the season, it's not worth taking those sort of risks if you don't need to. Yeah. You can do that at the beginning of the season and in your pre-season training and stuff like that, and work out where players need to be and where players can play. You need to shuffle the pack and readjust and try new tactics and stuff like that. I don't think it's beneficial right now. And I said the Trossard assist was a ball over from Gabriel, a nutmeg and through Sutar, and Gabriel running through. And as soon as he ran through and adjusted his body well, you knew it was going in the back of the net.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just funny that they were in the positions that, I think with Martinelli, he does play with his head, down a little bit, and he's just, going like that. I think if he's in that situation and he's going through in front of the goal, he hasn't got to really think about anything else. He's got to think about picking somebody out or cutting it back. If he's in that situation, look what happened. He just went like Roadrunner, one objective, get yourself set and just slot it. But no, yeah, he was he's been a great acquisition. I know he wasn't plan A, Trossard in terms of who we're trying to get in January. But delighted to delighted that he's there and he's played a good part. He scored important goals. Obviously, he scored important goals against Brentford, which would have been the winner, possibly. And obviously the goal the other day, which wasn't. I mean, what was? We'll touch on that now, Bez. The situation, the whole situation. I know you messaged me back, but what was your take on that? On the whole, disallowing of that goal and for the reasons, and are we going to get goals disallowed? 100, loads of goals disallowed now going forward in the Premier League because of that.
I think it's silly because I feel like he wasn't just an impeded alone. I mean, he reached the ball that was was hit in the box, and the goalkeeper VARdy is known by. He clawed it out. So surely he's not being fouled. Then if he's not, why should Ben White be penalised in that situation and then be penalised the scorer even as well? At least give the goal. Him as a referee surely can stand to his officials in the other line. Say, look, he clawed the ball out. Why is this given as a no goal? I'll never know. Because I do feel like goalkeeper goal, one hand on it, sorry. and he closed it out. And then you penalise Ben White, and then the scorer even is doing everything he can, because in that moment of time, as you know, the normal footballer would do, you hit back the net. But then, as we said yesterday, it didn't happen once or twice. We have it 3 times, and I'm still a bit shocked. This VAR and slash officials again, we're talking about again for the second week running, is literally no consistency with our games. Even it's like everyone's on the Arsenal wagon again. It's like, guys, when it's right, we it's like get the decision against us. When it's wrong, it's like, oh yeah, sure, Arsenal are weak. Oh, Arsenal have no backbone. Those feedbacks now have stopped because simply we like keeping our shot, and it seems that it's just they want to ruin us again. We could have won by 3-4-0 if it wasn't for silly so-called decisions again. But thank God the resilience shown through, and then our team again got the win, and got the how can I say, the feel-good factor again in the whole Arsenal family, as we say, because going like this every week, week in, week out, I should say.
It kind of took. Yeah, sorry, it kind of took the wind out of the sails, didn't it? When it was disallowed. I mean, the game just was really flat afterwards, and you think such a great goal, and it was just wiped off. I mean, Steve, that obviously you can see the keeper. The keeper, when you watch it through again, he gets to the ball, he punches it out. Obviously, if it had landed to a Leicester player and they broke away, there would have been absolutely nothing wrong with that. But it obviously broke to Xhaka, he laid it off. And you can see the keeper, even in this photo, you can see he's got a clear view of the goal, of the shot. And he's setting himself to save it. Obviously, he can't save it because it's postage stamp. And again, it's like, there was no complaints from the Leicester players. And people are saying, all right, White had held his hands, but that happens every corner. Not just every game, that happens every single corner. There's contact and there's people pulling shirts and stuff like that and trying to gain leverage and everything. I mean, we are ref differently. That goes without saying. You no one can tell me anything different from what we saw today in the Tottenham Chelsea game and in the Carabao Cup final. Some of the decisions that went Tottenham and Man United's way. But Steve, I mean, what can we do about that? I mean, other than trying to put games out of sight and everything. I mean, the amount of points that or goals that we've lost this season has probably been more than any other club that I can think.
I'm going to backtrack a little bit to then fast forward against, I think it was Villa, when their player was all over Ramsdale and they gave the goal. Is that the right one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
Ramsdale, Ben White in that situation wasn't even the player holding the keeper's hand.
Right.
Okay, so he wasn't even the player holding the keeper's hand. It was his own defender.
Wow. Okay.
I'll show you a still afterwards. But it wasn't Ben White holding the hand.
Yeah.
Yes, his arm is there, but he wasn't holding the hand. It was his own player. So, it has to be clear and obvious. That's what they say. That's the rules.
Yeah.
Please stop me if I'm wrong at any point, but that's the rules. It has to be clear and obvious.
Yep.
It was not clear and obvious that Ben White was holding the hand because it was the other team's player. When you see this still again, you're actually going to laugh. And people that are watching this, those that are following us through this journey, through this process as well, they've all seen it. They've all seen it. And then you go, okay, well, you know what? If the referee has, and fair play to the ref, he's gone and had a look. So look, whether he's got it right or wrong, at least he's had a look. Okay, so let's not take that away from the ref. And I don't want. That's what we always want. At least go and have a look to confirm or disagree with the decision.
Yeah.
So he's gone. He's had a look. And he's thought, okay, it looks like Ben White is maybe holding the keeper there. He may have made a mistake. He may have refed it differently. Whatever. I'm not here to judge that part. But then Saka's pulled down in the box.
Yeah.
2 arms around him.
Yeah.
And it's nothing because they say it's not clear and obvious. The first one was not clear and obvious. The second one is definitely clear and obvious. And as we've talked about, and as Neil, James, and Daniel have all mentioned, and Bez as well, they've all mentioned, if this was England's golden boy, for example, that's a penalty. Am I not wrong?
Yeah.
It's a penalty.
100%.
So we look at the VAR decisions and the ones that have gone against us, and yes, some have gone for us. I'm not here to say that none have gone for us, but the majority of them have gone against us in games where we've dropped points.
Yeah,
and you can't say, oh yeah, well they came out and apologized. An apology doesn't give you 2 points, doesn't give you the 3 points that you deserve. An apology doesn't help you when you're challenging for the title. An apology doesn't help you if you're even battling for relegation. And this is what people seem to forget. People go, oh, you're moaning, or you're always moaning about the VAR decisions and stuff like that. And I always go, because it's a matter of, it's the difference between being successful and not, relegated and staying up. When it's that margin of error, you can't get it wrong. Which is why when you talked about it in the last podcast, and I think we all talked about it as well at certain points, it's the challenge rule. Okay, so you like tennis has, you challenge a decision. If you win the challenge, fantastic. You get to keep your challenge for that particular half or that particular game or whatever. And if it's you got it wrong, then you got it wrong. But there needs to be a challenge situation, because that's not a foul on the goalkeeper. Otherwise, when Aston Villa scored against us and Ben White was impeded by their defender, you go, well, then it's one or the other, isn't it? You can't say that that's not a foul and that you won't get that because that's a bit soft. We're definitely ref differently, and yeah. I don't know how you address that. And I can only assume the only way to address that, and I think for a lot of not just us, other clubs as well, I think the only way to address that is not to have English referees. It's controversial, yes, of course it is, because you want referees that know your game and know the culture of the sport and everything like that, and blah blah blah. But there's a clear bias, and when the majority of your referees come from up north and go, oh yeah, well Arsenal don't like it up, and because that's how it's always been, you go, that's fine. But our yellow card yesterday, was it Martinelli?
Yes, I think it was. Yeah,
it's never a yellow card.
Yeah.
And there were tackles flying in everywhere, and I was going, there'll be a yellow card soon for them, and knowing fully well that there's not going to be a yellow card.
I think they did. I think they did 13 fouls or something like that, and they never got carded. And then because that leads on to obviously Saka obviously should have got that should have been given a penalty. You know, you can see the Suter. As soon as he gets his hands around Saka, he pulls him back like that. You know, and he kind of styles out like falling to the ground, but. You know, that wasn't. They said it was looked at, you know, in record time, and said, "Oh, that wasn't a penalty." You know, but I think I was the one that said it a couple of weeks ago about having some sort of challenge or having a situation where, you know, because managers wouldn't waste it on frivolous stuff like a challenge on the edge of on the penalty on the halfway line, or anything like that. They'll do it for situations like this, like if it was a goal, if it was that's what they do in the NFL. They 9 times out of 10, their challenges are on whether someone's caught the ball and had both feet in and it's been a clean catch, if it's a touchdown or what have you. And I think that's where it might need to go. They might need to trial it somewhere, and probably they'll be trying it under 20, under 18s World Cup or something like that, or championships. But Bez, touching on the other VAR, VARdy, he came on and just seemed to be wound up, because on the feed that I was watching the game on, you could hear the Leicester fans in the first half getting really, really annoyed. They were shouting, you know, get closer to him, you know, kick him, stop. You know, they were shouting at their players because they were so, you know, standing off us and letting us have more of the ball. And it seemed like VARdy spent most of the time listening to that from the fans, giving his team jip, and he came on with an absolute, you know, axe to grind with us again. Which he's done in the past. Again, as Steve said, I mean, how can someone, you know, he did a couple of fouls, and he did one on Jorginho right towards the end on the touchline, and they never showed a replay of it. But it looked like he kneed Jorginho either on the side of the head or in the chest, and he really hit him at force, and they never showed a replay of it. They didn't show a replay to say, you know, show how bad it was. And that's the thing for me, how they don't, again, they just treat us differently. They don't show replays, or if they do, they show angles that support, not, but, you know, oh, that's an angle not to give the goal, not the angle that you should remember. That what game was it that we played, and there was an angle that they didn't show, and if they showed it, it would have been, it would have been given us. It was the
Liverpool.
Mason one, wasn't it? It was the Brentford one, because they didn't show him the angle, so things like that. But Bez, what's going to happen? What are you worried about? We're going to, because of the VAR, of their decision, not just on the decisions on the lack of goals, but decisions on just our players' like welfare. Do you think we're gonna get a big one soon?
Touch on that, because we need protection, as even Arteta said. Our players need protection. We're not asking much. We just need protection. That means when the players being penalised in our team, why don't the other team get penalised as well, just as much? I even hear this chant now. If you guys hear too down the years, then I've grew up to be an Arsenal fan to understand what it means again to be an Arsenal fan. Why do I always see the home fans in other grounds say more Arsenal cheating? I feel, for the love of God, you do that. You keep singing that out loud as much as you want. I feel, yes, because one of the London teams who challenged the big boys, we challenged the likes of Liverpool back in the heyday, United included. I mean, certainly Man City. I mean, now this is awake with their money and with their drama shows. I don't get into it too much because we're not here to talk about City right now. But I just feel like, sure, you keep singing again, same old Arsenal cheating. But for the life of me, didn't United used to do it? Didn't Liverpool used to do it? I just feel like, yes, with only one London team from down south who clearly gave these so-called northern teams a challenge, and now these so-called true fans, they call them, or these so-called plastic fans around, because I see a lot of London, I say territories, and I say, I'm a United fan. Sure you are, because you saw Arsenal went down a little bit of a bad pit. Sure, you just choose United. Yes, plastic fan, go ahead, I feel. So please support United. Support the likes of, City, the likes of, again, Liverpool, which in recent years, they've been a bit loud from that side. But I just feel like, why is it always us? It's like we're doing well, we're doing great. We didn't expect to have this surge of this greatness, and yet people envy us, man. Other fans envy us. Other pundits used to play for certain clubs envy us. I just feel like, get a grip. Whoever you are there. Again, we're not here to name names or to even call you out, but please, we're clearly at the top of the pile. Appreciate it was there. We play clean,
Yeah.
And not ever have seen Arsenal ever been told by certain other players around or other. This was me growing up again in the early 2000s. Again, we were a rough team. We had the likes of Vieira. Yes, he was rough, but he was the anchor of that midfield, which now we have in Partey. We have to say now certain type of player like him, but he's no one on his level. Yes, but still, why do we get so much hatred again to this day? I just feel like, why we get picked upon. Why is it everyone's got this hatred against us? It's like, leave us be. We're top of the league. Yes, we're playing well. We're playing, with panache. We're playing with steel for a change. We're playing with resilience, as we keep saying. Yet we get again these officials. Clearly, I wouldn't swear another strong word is it, but they keep screwing us. Every game will be home and away now, and we still show resilience. We still show class. Class is permanent. It exists in our DNA. I'm loving Henry of late, even though he's not social media for many reasons. Bless him. He speaks from the heart as a football fan, as an Arsenal fan. I just want to see more of these ex-players who are ex-players of ours too. Just tell these fellow pundits, leave Arsenal alone. These away fans as well, leave us alone. So is it because Arsenal not top of the league, you envy us? Man, I feel that we suffered the last 10 years, or 10, 15 plus years, you should say, even more than that. But now we're making a voice. You really want to kick us when we're down? No, because we're doing better than certain most of your teams did it. We're doing it the right way, and yet we still get kicked up the backside. I just feel like, let us enjoy this moment of brilliance that we have, like the likes of Saka. For me, from day one, I admire that boy, the way he's been carrying us.
Yeah.
And again, we'll talk about him in a minute, but I just want to say how, for me, he's been immense. He's kept his head down just day in, day out. Every game, the boy will not give up. So young, so much desire, so much heart, I mean, I love this Smith roll back, hopefully at least by Wednesday, alongside maybe Jesus, maybe a little running, but I just feel like the way Saka is showed himself, in this recent years, how far he's come, I don't know how he's not even a leader yet because he's so young, we expect so much. As I said yesterday, Saka cracker, fine, he didn't score yesterday again, offside goal, but he still continued. He still won that right side all to himself. Again, we had Martinelli and Trust that you guys mentioned on that left side, but him by himself on the right side just shows so much charisma, so much, Arsenal DNA, and he feeds off it. Every time I hear Henry speak about something, he hears it as well. He just utilizing the game, and you see on the pitch, it's just great to see. He just flourishes. It's like magic, basically. It's like beautiful, poetry in motion. What can I say? It's just, I'm lost for words when I talk about Saka, really.
Yeah, he's amazing, and hopefully they get that contract which they're talking about, that gets sorted about soon. But I mean, talking about what you've mentioned, Bez, in terms of how we're treated differently, I think it's a combination of things. And not because we're not saying it because we work there, but me and Steve, obviously, we've got more of a closer view. Obviously, especially Steve, he used to work for Arsenal in the press box. But I think it's elements of a number of things. The main one, I think, now is particularly, like you said, for 10 years, we've kind of been, even though we've won an FA Cup or two, we've kind of been the banter club, mainly because a certain radio station, put us in that way and ridiculed not only the club, but the manager. So much so that BBC put a picture of Arsene Wenger when he fell over in the train station when he was coming back from Stoke, and I think Gary Lineker made a quip about it. And then when we played Stoke and he was waving his arms around the touchline, again Lineker did something on Match of the Day which took the mick out of it. Even going back to during lockdown when I think I can't remember who we played. I think it might have been West Brom or someone away from home, but Lacazette got kicked and he had a penchant to scream quite loudly and act like he was in like a war movie. And screamed out loud, and then the player, I think it was Lineker, I can't remember who else it was, but Ian Wright, which was the really disappointing thing. Ian Wright started doing the same thing in the studio, like that, doubling over and screaming out loud. So we've been like this target, and I think it's because we are a serious team now. We're top of the league. I think people are trying to hold on to that, and they're resentful of that. And unfortunately now, especially in punditry in football, it's more tribal. The more tribalism as a football sport has come into it. As you said before, look at Gary Neville as a prime example. When Gary Neville first came into being an analyst, he was right up there. Everyone rated him because he was very objective, straight down the line. But something changed. I think the rise of fan channels and certain individuals. And they've seen the actual reach of those types of channels. Sky have definitely gone along that route because they've invited those types of fan channels onto their actual studios, onto their programs. And Neville and Carragher, to a certain extent, but not so much, are like representations of Man United fan channel, of Liverpool FC fan channel, and that's how. And obviously, because of the tribalism in football fans, they're not going to give us the respect, or they are going to do it through gritted teeth, and then they'll always add a little caveat in. Oh, the only reason we're top is because City are messing about. That's the only reason we're top of the league, and blah blah blah. So, and then obviously it goes right back to George Graham's days where we played Man United. Brian McClare kicked Nigel Winterburn in the head, and we ended up getting deducted 2 points, and they got deducted 1. How's that work out? So. It goes right back, and I think it's just how we were our runners as a club, and the history and everything. But I don't think it's going to change. I think even if we do win the league this year, and we become successful, there's always going to be an element of resentment, and it's always going to be a reason why. Oh, the only reason you won it is because everyone else was off it this year. Look at Chelsea. Look at Liverpool, look at them. They're off it. They're going to be back next year, stuff like that. So, it's a combination of things, man. And as long as we're winning, let them cry more. I think is one of the things that we say. Was you going to say something, Steve?
Yeah, I was just going to say, look, I get the resentment and I get like biases and stuff like that, and I'm sure I might have talked to you about it. And I remember doing a blog post about it many years ago. The only way to get rid of such biases is to have not have one governing body, and whether that be the FA, UEFA, FIFA, whatever, it's biased. We've seen in things like the Champions League how it's biased towards Barca and Madrid. I always go back to that Robin van Persie incident where he got sent off for us, and you go from the time you blew the whistle to the time he kicked the ball was 3 seconds, and you sent him off, and you've ruined the game.
Yeah,
just like that, you've ruined the game. There's look at Chelsea when they played Barcelona, and you remember the scenes of Drogba kicking off and stuff like that, and you just go, you've ruined the game because there's a bias towards Barcelona and Madrid. There always is, and then from the English clubs, there's a bias towards Liverpool and United, and now there's a bias towards Paris Saint-Germain in France, and in Italy, it's both the Milan clubs and Juventus. They're the three. And in Germany, obviously, it's Bayern Munich. There's certain biases. And the only way to get rid of that and to hold people accountable and for them to be credible is to go, your tenure to look after this organization and this fraternity is for 2 or 3 years. After that period, or 4 or 5 years, whatever it may be, after that period, it's then open for another fraternity to come in and make those improvements, make those changes, and bid for it, like Sky and BT and all the other channels bid for streaming rights in order to show the Premier League games and the Champions League games and Europa League games and the Conference League games. You have to bid for it, and you have to say, this is my plan and this is what we intend to do. It should then go to, as well as a club panel, but a fan panel as well, to say, yes, we agree with this particular organisation leading the way. Because otherwise, it won't change. Unfortunately, it won't change. And we've seen it, and we keep on seeing it. Oh, Arsenal are soft. As soon as we do our first tackle, it's a booking. Our first tackle, and it's a booking. But yet players from other teams can kick us, and it's because Arsenal are soft. And then we do one tackle, this is a nothing tackle, and it's a booking. You go, that was like the Martinelli tackle was not a booking.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
But he's got a booking for it, and you're going, okay, well, if that's your standard, then be consistent.
Yeah.
But then when you look at the majority of the referees in this country, they're from the north of England.
Yeah.
So they pick up on those biases because it's always around them.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think one of the things that we'd like to do going forward is just have when the season's finished, have a chat about officiating and things. What would like a 10-point plan in? What would you do? What would you like to see? What would you like to do going forward? And just put it out there, because it's not fit for purpose, man. It's not fit for purpose. I'm sorry, you can't tell me that a football mad country such as this hasn't got a single representation, like a referee or 2 referees from London, from a football hotbed of London. There's one person there at those minutes who could be a referee. Obviously, again, it comes into the biases. If he's in London, and then he's likely to be one of the fans of let's say West Ham. But in terms of inclusiveness and how is it all? They're all south of Birmingham. That doesn't make any sense. That shouldn't even be possible in terms of numbers, and odds and stuff. But we'll come back to that down the road, hopefully. But no, I really appreciate that. But what we'll do in a minute, we'll talk about the game, the Everton game on Wednesday. And hopefully it will be a bit of a revenge mission after what happened to us a couple of weeks ago at Goodison Park. So we'll be talking about what you guys would like to see just after this. So Everton on Wednesday night, our game in hand. We win that game, we go 5 points clear. Bez, Arteta has a bit of a selection dilemma, I think, because obviously Partey played the last 10, 15 minutes. I think he should have came a little bit sooner, but maybe that was down to fitness. But that means someone's going to get dropped if he comes back in. What would you do? Would you like to see Partey come back in for that game, especially with who they have up in midfield? Obviously, what happened when we played up in Goodison, Onana and Guy and the strength and power that they have. And if you do bring him in, who are you dropping out of Jorginho and Xhaka?
Tough pull, really, but someone has to be sacrificed for the sake of the team, as we say. We're a team now. We have the leaders, but sacrifices have to be made. This, 3 months ago, I'm touching wood every time I speak about it. I just feel utilize what you have again. If say Xhaka says to Arteta, "Please, I need a rest." Well, please, by all means, step aside. Let someone else take your place. If it's Jorginho too, again, I feel like one of them two will have to drop out. Because sadly, Partey, in my eyes, is an anchor in that midfield. Without him, somehow we'll be home or away. Sometimes without him, we struggle. I hate to use that word for my beloved team Arsenal, but we do struggle without him.
Yeah.
He's got that little, vibe and that aura that somehow players lack, sadly. And part you can see, he's grown to that role really well. And, long may continue. People were saying to me the other week, again, I'm not here to name them, but some of my close mates will be social media or even real life. They were saying to me, oh, Partey's not playing. Maybe he's, mucking about or he's just playing sick. I'm feeling, hold on a second. He's missed 6 games last year. He's missed a few games this year. Again, that's forgivable because obviously he can't play every game, for God's sake. He's not a robot. He's not a machine.
He's not Saka.
For the life of me, give the man a break. When he plays for us, he plays with passion. I have a client at work, ironically, he's from Ghana himself. He tells me when he plays for Ghana, he's nothing. When he plays for Arsenal, he puts his heart out there. And I said, man, bro, you're so right. Because when he plays for Ghana, he's a different guy. I get it. He's his country. Sometimes I might get the better of him. The pressure gets to him. But with Arsenal, it's like, this is my position. This is my team. This is my dynamic, team where I want to, push on. Sadly, this World Cup gone by, we didn't see much of him. But I just feel like, for the life of me, people need to realize as well, if he's injured, give him a break. If it's maybe got some personal issues, some players in the past have had some personal issues, they can't play. Why do we have to attack them? I do see some, again, clowns around, the so-called ex-Bad Club people, as we like to call them, the one who gave us all sort of names. I feel Partey needs to be rested when he wants the rest. Say this, you can't play 5 games in a row. You can't play 6 games straight. He needs the rest. He needs to be, told that, look, I know you're a great player, but sometimes we need to rotate again because the rotation is key. I do feel even on the game yesterday, seeing how well the link-up, as Steve just touched on, how well now Trossard reads Martinelli and Martinelli reads him as well. It's just great to see.
Yeah.
They only played, I think, 3-4 games together, but he's working well. Long may continue again. But please, people understand as well, there's teammates out there who need to realize you need to, step aside. Say tomorrow, okay, we might not see Zinchenko in the game. He needs to realize maybe Tierney might have to come in, or maybe someone else. He needs to just say, look, sorry, mate, I need a game, to prove my worth. Because say now we go see Sporting Lisbon as the sort of fixtures, that ticker is going down.
Yeah.
In those games, the Sporting Lisbon will not be easy, but we can't have the same team. We can't have the same defense, same, let's say, same goalkeeper. But again, we need to rotate. People understand that is a team, we don't just play the same team every game. We need to utilize what we have, as I keep saying,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the issue with the game on Wednesday is if Everton play as expected, it'll be pretty much a low block, isn't it, Steve? And if that's the case, would you want someone like Jorginho to be playing those vertical passes and being able to unlock things and pick out runs? Xhaka, he's looked a bit rough around the edges. He's been in a couple of positions, shooting positions where he's not as decisive as he was earlier in the season. He's kind of delayed things a little bit. He still put the effort in. He still put his body about on Saturday. Got a bit of a kick in as well. Once VARdy came on, and Tielemans obviously did some damage to himself as well. But it's interesting, right? Because again, in that sort of low block, which is going to probably be expected, you would kind of keep Zinchenko in because of obviously his ability to sort of pick passes out, and Xhaka, and Jorginho. But I would like to see Tierney given the game because I think it's going to be a bit of a physical game. So there's lots of options. But what would you do? I mean, people are saying bring Eddie back in because of the physicality. He's going to be up against obviously Tarkowski and Cody. Or would they be a bit more lost if Trossard is in that 9 still dropping off? So what would you do?
I'll be quick and I'll start from the front backwards. Eddie comes back in. Like Martinelli, and the manager knows best in this situation, but sometimes a player just needs a rest and a game or two out of the first team, on the bench and coming on for a few minutes or not playing at all. That's part and parcel of the game. I think people read too much into it. Eddie will definitely come back into that position, and it was good that he got to not start a game and just realise that, yes, although he's the man up front at the moment, that we have options available, and sometimes you do need to rest. So Eddie comes back in for me up front. Jorginho hasn't really done much wrong since he's joined us in terms of his performances, and it's difficult to say it, but Xhaka doesn't miss many games at all. The guy is, and I said it very early on in our podcast, Mike, the guy's a machine and he plays because fair play to him, he's a top professional. So he will start, and I think he will start with Partey in midfield. And I think in that Everton game, the one thing that we did lack was that overlap for Martinelli on the left-hand side. And I think if you're going to change anybody, it might be worth bringing him in. Yes, the way Zinchenko comes in offers that extra body in midfield as well, which is sometimes helpful when you've got, as you said, on our Decore and Guy. But yeah, I think Tierney needs a game. Unfortunately, and we've talked about this before about using your players well and giving them time. Unfortunately, he can't start the game. I don't think it's fair. Like the Tomiyasu situation, and you bring somebody in that hasn't really played enough minutes leading up to that starting berth. They don't hit the ground running, and they're susceptible to mistakes, unfortunately, because they're not fully up to speed. So I think he will start Zinchenko again, and hopefully bring Tierney on with a good 20-30 minutes so that he can get up to speed and then push on for a place.
Yeah, well, let's hope we. I think after the performance at Goodison, we were all obviously disappointed with that. Obviously, it goes without saying that it'd be nice to get a nice bit of revenge, score 3, 4, or 5 goals. But at the end of the day, we'll take a 1-0 win, won't we? Just keep on rolling. Just get the win. Just get the win whatever way. But obviously, let's just put it on them, and hopefully, do the business and go to. Obviously we've got Bournemouth on the Saturday, and that's going to be obviously I think 3 o'clock kickoff after the City game, and obviously hopefully we'll be in a position where we win that one. Hopefully, and we'll maintain the 5-point lead, because I think City have got Newcastle in a lunchtime game. So Newcastle are pretty much, I think they're done now. But they're going to slide a little bit down on the table a bit, lost their mojo. But that's all from me and the guys. Thanks very much, gents, for your time. Really appreciate it. I'll get you away so you can enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening. We'll be back. Daniel will provide a vlog on the game on Wednesday, so look out for that. And then hopefully we'll be back maybe after the Bournemouth game, and hopefully celebrating another 3 points. So that's all from myself, me, Michael Harris, the man over here, got it right, Bez Kelmendi, and the man down here, they call me Step V Stephen Osakwe, rocking the away shirt.
We'll
be back in a few days. Obviously, Dan will drop us a couple of vlogs. So thanks very much for the support. Thanks for all the retweets and subs and everything. Catch this on Acast, Anchor, and Spotify. And all that's left to say is let's go. Come on, you Reds.
You know who made it.